Welcome to the Kill City Cup. I got the world by the balls.
Spooky Lou, another wonderful WrestleRoni for me and you. It's the spooky season. Kill City Cup's back in the house. The one and only Zip Monk. You probably know him as Hazard. How you doing, my man?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you on, man. Let's just go ahead and jump right into Kill City Cup. The first, a perfect movie for the spooky season, the Halloween season. You were Zip Monk. What can you tell me about making this film?
I can tell you that I had a blast making the film. I'll tell you that Luke, the creator, has been bouncing this idea off of me for about 15 years. That's not an exaggeration.
Really?
Yeah, he's consistently talked about, because I mean we grew up in wrestling together and kind of like been all over the country competing, and one of the things he was very super hyper focused on was the lack of like real production and differences in like whether we were in Maine, New Hampshire, Canada, Florida, Oregon. The aesthetic just seemed kind of the same, and he was like, what if we just added like way more production value to wrestling? Like, what if we did that? And you know how like you and your buddies like sit together and always like, what if and what if this happens? And this is something that he's been what ifing for quite a while, and then he ended up making happen. So like I said, he's been talking about it for like 15 years. So I've known about it for a long time, but I was probably also the last one to confirm to be part of the project, because I didn't know if my schedule was going to work out, and I ended up getting that week off. So I was able to come down. So I think I've known about it the longest, and then I committed in the shortest amount of time.
I love it because, like you said, the production value both on indie wrestling and indie horror had to be upped, and Kill City Cup looks legit. And I gotta say, main wrestling, the production on Limitless, Beyond, it's looking good too. So, I mean,
Yeah.
if you guys weren't happy with the production and wanted it up, I mean, it's looking good to me down here in West Virginia compared to some of the shit
Right.
we're doing. So, props, man. What was it like out there in the makeup and trying to work with that crazy piece you had on your face? What was that like?
So, funny story is, up until I arrived at that building, that was not the character I was playing. Apparently, Luke and some of the people he was working with got those props the morning of. So, going to the building, I was expecting to play a completely different character and wrestling Brian Cage. And then I showed up and he showed me this Zip Monk zipper like face prosthetic and was like, we would love to put you in this. And I'm pretty much down for anything. So I said, yeah, let's do it. He had a like a movie quality makeup artist on, and they put me in the chair and they went to work. It took a little bit of time, but I was pretty happy with the results.
Oh, no doubt. It looks great. I don't know if you're aware, but we had planned a little short film down here in West Virginia with some of our wrestlers. And while we're planning this, boom, we check out Kill City Cup. So, of course, we took a few notes here and there. And I'd like to say Luke and the whole crew, all of you guys were a big inspiration to us while we were shooting our very first short film for WrestleRoni. It's coming out Halloween night, Attack of the Were Zebra. Only about 15-minute long, but it's a start. So
Right. That's
yeah.
awesome. I'll be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'm proud of what we accomplished, and like I say, we took a few notes from what you guys did. The movie looks slick. Speaking of Halloween, you got some big plans coming up for the Halloween season. You got Warhorse coming up, right?
I do. So October 28th in Yarmouth, Maine, I have a showdown with Warhorse at Fresh Blood for Limitless Wrestling. I just had a match with them last month, ended up coming away with the win. I'm building a lot of momentum right now. I started calling out everyone, and it looks like Warhorse accepted the challenge. So I got a tall task ahead of me, but I'm excited to get my character more out there and go to war with him.
No doubt. And when you say you're excited to get your character out there, you've been on the scene for a minute. How long you been doing this now?
Oh man.
Uh-huh.
So my first year was 2001. So
Shoo.
I have been doing this for a very long time. I started in high school. Obviously, the character's not the same. I've reinvented myself quite a few times now, but I think the character I am right now is really, really a fun to play. B, it gets a lot of attention, and I feel like I'm building a lot of momentum with this one.
Hey, been seeing you do your thing, and you've got to evolve, man. That's good. I mean, if
Right,
you're doing it since 2001, I
right.
mean, you've been in there with Omega, you've been in there with Eddie Edwards,
I
uh,
have.
Jimmy Jacobs. I mean, what? I'm a huge Kenny Omega fan, so that hit my mark bone. What can you tell me about being in the ring with him?
Working with him was awesome. So he came down for a tour in Maine, and at the time, me and the producer, Kill City Cup, Luke, him and I were tagging, and we kind of did this like Canada versus USA thing. He came down with Danny Duggan, who is another
Oh,
Canadian
okay.
wrestler,
Uh huh.
another really good wrestler. So it was those two versus us in kind of like a Canada versus USA battle, and we went to war. I'm pretty sure that match is on YouTube somewhere. Um, but it was a blast. We had a blast. There were these guys who had this website called NEI. They were the New England Independents. They would go to all the shows and they would kind of do the Dave Meltzer 5-star rating matches. And I'm pretty sure they ranked that pretty highly. So if anybody can get their eyes on that match, I believe it's on YouTube. That's a fun watch.
Yeah. Hey, we're big Danny Duggan fans here at WrestleRoni.
Good, good. Danny Duggan's a good dude.
No doubt, no doubt. Hopefully he's recouping well because man,
Yeah,
he's killing it up in Canada. What a
yeah,
small world, man. That's
yeah, yeah, yeah.
crazy, especially in wrestling. And I have notes here. You trained with Scott. You had some training. I don't know if he was your trainer, but training with Scott Hall, man. Like, what can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so I mean, I started in Maine, but again, me and Luke were on the scene. We were wrestling every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and the scene kind of got a little stale, and we wanted to challenge ourselves a little more. So we ended up moving down to Florida,
Mm.
and we ended up at a school that actually Scott Hall was teaching at. And I'm a gigantic Razor Ramon mark, gigantic Scott Hall mark, so I had to recenter myself to say, and but it was that guy, probably the smartest man I've ever met in wrestling, and he just made everything so simple and made things make so much sense. So to sit and just listen to him tell his stories and explain wrestling, it just made it so much easier for me personally. And I can't say enough about my time there and with him.
No doubt. And surely, I mean, you wouldn't be crazy enough to like put his boots on at practice or anything, would you?
So I don't know how you heard this story, but there was so we were at wrestling training this one time, and after we had finished, he was like, "Yo, kid, come here," and then he opened his bag and he had the purple Razor Ramon boots with like the yellow razors and the red outline, and
Ooh.
he's like, "Hey, you interested in buying these?" So internally, like obviously, there's nothing I would rather have than a set of Razor Ramon boots. But of course, the way I was trained, the way I was brought up, you're not a mark, you're a pro. I had to play it off. I was like, nah, like I don't know what I would do with those boots, man. And he was trying to set me up with a seamstress. These are like size 18 boots. The guy's 6'7", 6'8". there's no way I could ever have any use for them besides putting them on a shelf somewhere.
Right.
And again, at that time, like I had just moved to Florida, I was struggling with jobs, like wrestling was keeping me going, and I didn't have the money for it either. But like really, I just wanted to prove I wasn't a mark. I didn't know if it was a test. Like, so one of my biggest regrets is not buying those boots. But he was like, "Yeah, you get a seamstress." He goes, "You can get these down from a size 18 to a size like 10 or 11 or whatever I was at the time." But it was like, what was I like? I'm not going to go through my indie entrances wearing Razor Ramon boots. So I would call that like an all-time missed opportunity for me, because I would love to have those sitting on a shelf right now.
Oh, no doubt.
Unfortunately, obviously he passed away, and the world lost a good one with him.
For sure, for sure. We miss him. I'm sure you guys like you that know him better than guys like me miss him even more. But he did a lot for pro wrestling, that's for sure.
Yes, he did.
See, you won the tag team titles with the one and only Honky Tonk Man, and you never even lost them. Like who? What?
No. So the crazy story with that. So when I first started in wrestling, I was like, I did like the boy band gimmick. This is like before 3 Count. Like I was,
Nice.
me and Luke were tagging together as 69 Degrees. Like we were just a boy band spoof when 69 isn't even really that hot. Like really spoofing it out. So I'd always been a heel. So funny story. Before Honky Tonk Man came up, they brought up Chris Hamrick for a tour.
Hell yeah.
And it's actually his birthday today. So happy birthday, Chris Hamrick.
Happy birthday, Chris Hamrick. Yeah.
So they brought him up, and at the time, like I had a lot of steam on me, as far as like I had a lot of momentum, but they wanted someone who could work really well with him. And obviously he was an ECW and was a notorious heel, and I was a heel. So management came to me and they were like, "Hey, we kind of want to turn you baby so you can work with Chris Hamrick." And I was kind of against it because the way I was playing my character, I was like, no way people get behind me. Like I can't. But luckily Chris Hamrick was a complete pro and he turned me baby quicker than anything I've ever seen. So I ended up having a lot of momentum behind me and ended up becoming a pretty big baby face. So one of the tours after that, Honky Tonk Man came up and they were like, "Hey, we're going to put the titles on you and Honky Tonk Man first night of the tour. And we're going to do like 5 shows." So that was a blast. Again, another person who you sit in the locker room with and you become a sponge and you just learn so much about the business and things that seem complicated, he makes so simple to understand. And yeah, that was an amazing experience.
No doubt. And talk about an unsung hero. Back to Chris Hamrick. Heck yeah, man. Like there's no doubt in my mind he made whatever happen that you wanted to happen, you know?
I would if it was anybody else, I would not have turned baby at all. But he was the consummate heel and he took it slow and let fans really go from, "Oh, this is the ECW guy," to, "Hey, actually we hate him and we like this other guy." So luckily he created the magic that ended up turning me.
Yeah, and like you say, it takes a special person. Like, you've been around obviously for a minute on the independent scene. Let the audience know why that's so hard to do in independent wrestling to these local crowds. It's not an easy thing.
Right, because I mean, you get local legends and you get TV legends, and there's not, especially back then. Back then, there wasn't any YouTube, there was no IWTV, there was no way to get real exposure. At that time. So unfortunately, I feel like I'm a little bit before my time because I feel like I would have really thrived with that stuff back then.
Right.
But yeah, like you see a guy from TV, he comes into your town, your small town, and it's larger than life, and that's what people were paying to see. They wanted to see those names on the card. So to get somebody to come in and then get them to boo you was crazy.
Yeah, exactly, because it didn't matter. I was the kid going to these indie shows. It was still a TV star. He's still going to cheer him. It was
right.
And 9 times out of 10, the booker was just going to make him a baby anyway because they weren't going to get cheered.
Right. Not only that, they were coming in. They wanted to sell merch. They wanted to take pictures. They wanted to. So they're going to kiss all the babies and do all that. But Hamrick came in, was staying heel because he was a heel on TV. And he got me over, and that led to the Honky Tonk run because I became one of the bigger babies in the company.
No doubt, no doubt. In my notes, I see you even had a match, and now that I'm reading it, I think I remember this. A match with current AEW World Champion MJF and Limitless. What can you
Yeah,
tell us on the real about MJF? Because man, you talk about a guy that's keeping kayfabe alive. So
right.
you don't want to kill the guy, but what can you tell us about MJF?
Right, and that's one of the things I envy the most about him is he keeps his character live all the time. And again, I came from 2001, so kayfabe was something that was instilled in me from the beginning. Again, another reason I didn't end up with Scott Hall's boots probably is um and that's kind of how like I derive my character, and I always want to be in character at time. Like even doing podcasts like this, like I am hesitant to do it because I don't want to show a different side. I want to always be in character.
Hmm.
But again, we're promoting this awesome film and this awesome movie, so I want to get publicity on that while also getting some eyes on me while I do these things like this Warhorse match and Limitless and Chaotic and all these things that are starting to cook up.
Right on. Well, let's go in back to Kill City Cup. I mean, you're in there with some names, Brian Cage, Jimmy Jacobs, but at the same time, you're one of the veterans on the set. So, how do you think you assisted the production?
I think just knowing Luke and how he is, I just like it's easy for me to interpret what he wants
Mm,
and what he's looking for from an artistic standpoint. Because again, we've been on the road together for what, 15, almost 20 years. So I mean, we've done a lot of drives, a lot of plane flights. Um, where we've got, like I said, gone through the production value and what you would like to see from wrestling and bigger than again. So we're older guys. So I came up in like the early '90s WWE where every character was bigger than life. Like,
yeah.
um, so just knowing kind of his vision for it and what he wanted. Again, like I said, the character I ended up playing wasn't the one I was expecting, but knowing kind of his vision for what he wanted made it easier for me to become the character I became.
No doubt. Have you seen some of the reviews for the movie? It's polarizing to say the
I
least.
have. I have. It is cool. It is cool to see. Again, so he filmed two of these, and the first one didn't even really get released. So there was no telling whether the second one was going to get released or not because of what have you, all the different variables.
Hmm.
So when it came out and people actually got eyes on it, and I started seeing more podcasts come out and movie reviews and YouTube reviews, it was really cool to see.
No doubt. It's been everywhere, and hell yeah, I'm about it. I'm down with it. What can you tell me? Was you a part of the first production? Because this is news to me.
No, I wasn't. So there was a viral clip that went around of Miss Markova getting uh, power bombed through one of the tables that didn't break. I don't know if you've seen that, but
Yeah,
it
yeah, yeah.
has like 6 million views. Um, and that was from the first tapings, and those tapings I couldn't make it to. And like I said, I almost didn't make it to the second one. I wasn't like on board with the project, except for like outside of like 3 weeks out. I was able to get that approved that I could fly down to Florida that week. Um, but again, yeah, there was a first taping, a dry run, and again, it's one of those things where you sit with your buddies and you're like, what if, what if, what if? And I saw him tape the first one. And I was like, oh, what if the second one becomes a what if?
Hmm.
But luckily, he ended up keeping his pedal to the metal, foot to the floor, and has really been pushing this. And I'm happy for him, and I'm happy people are getting eyes on it. And like again, these ideas that he's had for 15 years is finally out in the public for people to see, and the reviews seem to be pretty decent.
Yeah, for sure. And it's blowing up. It's getting views. You personally, do you see a second one coming down the pike?
Oh, knowing him, I'm sure he's got plenty of other ideas cooking and ways he can improve. Like he's the type of person who doesn't settle, so he's always moving to the next idea. So
Mm,
hopefully it comes out in another form of a Kill City and he's talked about doing prequels with some of the characters that people ended up liking.
mm,
So him and I have talked about like Zip Monk prequels and stuff like that. So yeah, hopefully that's the direction we end up going.
no doubt. What's the spooky season? interviewing you during Halloween time. What's going on in Maine during Halloween? You got any plans? Is it what goes on up there around this time of the year?
Not a lot in Maine. I actually just came back from Salem yesterday. We did the witch trials and the haunted houses, and we did there's a big mansion tour. All the street characters dressing up, and so we did all that. There used to be like hay rides in Maine, but nothing like extraordinary. So we kind of have to travel in order to get those.
Right, gotcha. Well, hey, independent wrestling's popping off up there, especially with IWTV, and we've named all the promotions. You've been
Yeah.
around since '98. Tell me about some of the good changes in your local scene. Maybe some of the negative, the good, bad, and the ugly. What have you seen change?
Well, I can't say enough good things about Randy Carver and what he has built with Limitless Wrestling because, like you said, I've been around a long time and been around a lot of Maine wrestling. And when I came back from Florida, I kind of took a break from wrestling because of the staleness. Like I said, the same thing me and Luke were talking about is like traveling the world is fun and being flown out makes you feel important, but like when it really comes down to it, you're wrestling on shows that end up feeling the same. And when Randy started and he built his from the ground up and he started bringing in names and indie names, not like old WWE past their prime guys. So he was putting on top tier matches and he was drawing 4, 5, 600 people, numbers I hadn't seen in a long time, if ever.
Mm-hmm.
Really ignited my passion to get back into it because of there were crowds and chants and stuff you see on TV that you're like, man, I really want to be a part of that. And he was able to bring that together in Maine. So I can't say enough good things about him, and I love what he's doing, and I'm lucky to be a part of what he's building right now.
For sure. And I love watching IWTV, Limitless, and you see the guys on there one year, next year, you're going to see Carmelo Hayes on NXT. You're going to see
Right,
Anthony
right, right.
Green and Noah or NXT. Tell me, who do you think we're going to see on TV next? Who's up there in Maine killing it right now that people should keep their eye on?
Oh, next. Big Beef has a lot of momentum behind him. I love what he's doing.
Mm,
Rip Bison, I would have said, but he's out in Japan right now, so he's out there killing it. I can't say enough good things about Alec Price. When I met him, I knew he was going to be something, and now he's carrying the IWTV title.
mm-hmm.
I luckily got the team with him, and we did the catch a body stuff, and I had a blast with him. Um, Becca has a
Yeah.
ton of momentum behind her. She's everywhere right now, and she's doing the Free Britney campaign, and I love the content she's putting out. The scene is on fire, and I love that Randy has created a platform, and IWTV even
Yeah.
a platform to build tomorrow's stars.
Yeah, IWTV's been a game changer. I can't give enough props to what
Yeah,
those folks are doing. Even before Fight, in my opinion, they were doing it before Fight better.
right.
So good on them. What about some unsung heroes of the past of Maine wrestling?
Unsung heroes. Well, I would throw out the name Larry Huntley, who he has been doing shows in Maine for about 20 years. He was there when I started. He took me under his wing. He trained me in exchange for helping at shows, doing concessions. And then I went from concessions to refereeing to building rings, doing chairs. And he ended up training me pretty much for free in exchange for helping at shows, which I was already loving doing, just being a part of something like that. So, him, Dirty Dango was a trainer there, Frankie Armadillo, Adam Booker. Adam Booker is actually reinventing EWA, which is where I started.
Okay.
And they're coming back, and they got a show coming up next month. So I'm really excited to be part of that. But those are some really like main OGs that really need some props.
No doubt. You mentioned Dango. Rumor has it you even had a hand in his training. Is that right?
No, no, he trained with
Train.
me.
Okay.
So yeah, yeah. So we both trained with Larry Huntley. So we were training. He was in a little before me, but we went to the same training ring, and we wrestled around quite a bit.
Okay, okay. Well, I need to double check my notes better before I You clarified.
I would love to. I'd love to take credit for that, but he's self-made. Larry was his trainer originally, and then he went to OVW, and the rest is history for him.
Still killing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Big fan of his, no doubt. Well, you know what? He's never going to watch this, I guarantee you. Another guy that's never going to watch it, probably going to be Warhorse. What's the game plan to kick Warhorse's ass coming up on the 28th?
Well, Warhorse. So last month I ended up winning a match. I ended up calling out whoever, wherever, who's ready for war, knocking people off their high horse, and it turns out that he accepted the challenge. So again, I'm really hitting my groove right now with my character and like my intensity and I just feel like everything's coming together for this to be a really, really solid match. And I'm excited. Again, this is a 1v1 match where the last match was like a 4-person scramble. So I feel like I'll have more attention on me. So I really plan on showing out and pulling out all the stops.
And it's a pretty stacked card too. What else should the folks look forward to on this show?
All of it. Like I said, Randy is building the future stars of tomorrow. I know JT Dunn's on the card. Alec Price is on the card. Ali Catch he's bringing back in, so that should be exciting for old Limitless fans because she used to come through often. But yeah, I mean, all the matches, like I couldn't rank them 1 through whatever.
Right. Yeah, we're just, like I say, ridiculously stacked. I'm not just saying it because you're on the show, but I've had my eye on Maine for probably the past 5 or 6 years, ever since I started subscribing to IWTV. I mean, you guys are killing it. You should be proud of what you're doing, for real.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, man. We're almost at the end of the show. At the end of the show, I give all my guests the opportunity to plug their merch, put out your socials, upcoming matches, whatever you want to put out there, even if it's advice for up-and-coming wrestlers, advice to fans even, whatever you want to put out there, the platform's all yours, my man.
Awesome. Well, you can catch me on Twitter at CatchABody with X's in between the catch and the body on Twitter. Again, October 28th, I got the Limitless Fresh Blood match with Warhorse, which should be gigantic. I have Catch a Body t-shirts. I sold quite a few last show and had to backtrack and get more for this coming show, so I'll have them in kids sizes, 2XL, 3XL, 4XL to take care of my entire fan base, and it should be a good show. Again, October 28th, Fresh Blood, Hazard versus Warhorse, 2-3 season. We're going to get it in.
I'm excited. Cannot wait. Cannot wait. Wish you the best. Go kick his ass. He's getting kind of full of himself.
Will do. Will do.
Hell yeah, my man. I'll ask you to hang on the line with me just for a moment, but to the listeners, this is why we do it. Awesome people doing awesome things. Stay tuned. We got the Halloween special coming down the pike. Halloween night, Attack of the Were Zebra. We love you. Treat each other with kindness and respect. Go out there and live your dreams. You might make some crazy movie with your friends, and the world will be talking about it. You never know. We'll see you next time.
That was definitely bullshit. It was all clearly fake.
Who the fuck even won?
Not us. Not us.